Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Lewis's vlog. And uh, we don't really need to go into all the details here because his training is very straightforward. He does have a power rack, finally ordered it on the way. He found one that will fit, so it's going to adjust our training a little bit. He's also going to do a cut starting basically today. So his programming is going to be adjusted a little bit for the volume for that. And I guess we should give a little backstory because you guys can see the exercises he does. And you know that he runs a 4-day conjugate program. So there's no need to really go into the programming details because he runs a standard template of 4-day upper lower max effort dynamic effort. And everyone who's familiar with conjugate at all knows what that looks like. And if you aren't, then you can go look it up. Very straightforward. But you see his exercise selection, it tends to be very basic because he's basically a late novice, although he is deadlifting over 400 pounds now. So we have that going. But for the unaware, the backstory for Lewis, we've been rebuilding him and bulking him for many months. He was a novice lifter who hired me, and then he broke his wrist and got really sick with a medical condition back to back. Had to have his pins put in his wrist. Then he couldn't train due to a medical issue. He lost pretty much all his gains that we had made over the months, and then he came back to me, and we've been rebuilding him since. Now, he's previously been a hard gainer, but I've had him bulking, and we're discussing in the future how to do leaner bulks for him. But he did bulk, and he's gained quite a bit of muscle, but he's been unhappy with the amount of fat he's gained. And so we discussed it and for just his overall long-term goals so that we can go back to bulking again, because he noticed when we try to maintain, everything completely stalls. When he tries to do maintenance calories, he can't seem to ever get stronger on any of his lifts. It's just like a complete standstill, which is frustrating to him. And so it kind of goes back to what I tell people of, we bulk and cut for a reason for people who aren't on drugs. So we're going to do a cut. He wants to get leaner because he has gained body fat. He's gained probably a 1-to-1 ratio. If we were to look at it, he's probably gained a kilo of fat for every kilo of muscle he's gained. And now we need to trim some of that down. He wants to get leaner, and then we can go back to gaining again. So again, we're having to adjust everything based upon that. But if you look at his variations this week, we had a bench press. For max effort work, we had a deficit deadlift. And I think that deficit deadlift was around 170 or 175 kilogram. His conventional is past 180 now, his normal deadlift. Keeping in mind, deficits are more difficult. And because he's running conjugate, we do rotate those movements every week. But at this point in the game, I feel like he only needs about 4 or 5 exercises for the upper, 4 or 5 for the lower. Again, he's kind of in that category of my lifters who I don't think need that variation. They just don't, and he doesn't have the equipment to do it anyways. We're with very limited equipment. And that's another topic too, when it comes to conjugate, if we're going to run the philosophical, psychological programming side of max effort on conjugate, you have to have a lot of equipment. Okay? In other words, there's an entire methodology behind that is there to program people to think like champions. But if you're going to do that, you have to have access to different bars. You have to have the bands, the chains, all that stuff, because we literally need like at least 12 different presses or more. And we need them to be different enough to get that complete difference. So, same thing with squatting, same thing with pulling. You have to have access to all that stuff. Plus, you have to have strong enough racks to handle it. Because if you're going to come in and do all sorts of variations on good mornings for maxes, different squats for maxes, you better have a sturdy power rack because you're going to miss some of them. And missing a max good morning without a rack to do it safely, you run into issues. Needless to say. So because of a lot of that, and he's going to be training at home and he doesn't have the space or the budget to build an enormous conjugate gym, obviously we're going to do these a little different. And for some of my lifters, I've even gotten over to where we do mostly the classic lifts, but we rotate reps. A little similar to what I'm doing. And I do find that that's very successful for some lifters, but It can be very based on personality type. It can be based on personality type. How introverted and extroverted you are with your actual lifting. And I think that that's something that we have to account for. For me, I'm a very calm, introverted lifter. Okay, boring doesn't matter to me. Right, boring doesn't matter. I'm also not always going to just get psyched and try to grind out things that I can't actually lift. Hey, works great for other personality types. You need that variation. You have to have that variation, particularly for people who get excited lifters. It's of great benefit. Now, Lewis here is a more calm lifter, right? A little more introverted with it. So in his case, we tend to be okay. We'll be okay with the lower selection. So we're fortunate in that. And if he had a very different personality type and we want to maximize this training system, you really need to be in a powerlifting gym. Be in a true strength gym. All right, to really get the most benefits. And it's unfortunate because I have a couple of clients who really do fit that personality and they don't have the best gym. Like Justin, you guys see Justin's clips. Justin's in that category. He would honestly excel in that sort of environment. Lewis, on the other hand, is more calm, more reserved guy, right? Not quite as high strung. He can get away with this and we'll be okay. And so we're good there. So we're fortunate to have that combination for someone who's going to train at home and things, who doesn't have a massive space or a massive equipment budget. But again, he's about to cut, so the training is going to be slightly different moving forward. But this is what he's doing for now, and he's made a lot of progress on this. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.